Another week, Bitcoin Liberty Live.
I forgot my hat.
I forgot my orange shirt.
We are
We're not prepared today.
costumeless.
We just kind of showed up and are making it work, but
We just spent the last 25 minutes arguing about whether or not we should talk about the Swan lawsuit.
I know a guy that we both follow. I haven't met him, but you met Justin Beckler, 1914 AD on Twitter.
X.
And X.
Justin's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
He's a really, really cool dude. Yeah, I think he's going to be in LA, so
Yep.
I think we're going to get drinks or something. Steaks, maybe.
Yeah, he dove into the lawsuit filed by Swan and broke it down in a lot of ways. And we were just talking about what it alleges, what Swan is saying happened. And I found it to have some heady stuff in there, although we don't know really what happened.
That was my point through the whole thing. We have no fucking idea what it means. Like they've made some pretty strong allegations.
Yeah.
My point is every lawsuit makes strong allegations, or it wouldn't be a very good lawsuit. So
yeah,
we'll see how it plays out. I don't know, but Fritz has some ideas, I think.
Well, just reading through it, like what is provided are some screenshots of emails and allegations that emails were deleted, notes were made and hidden, code was downloaded from GitHub, this en masse resignation, and that there are references to plans occurring around all that happening with
rain and fire.
Rain and fire. So on its face, it's like, holy shit.
I would point out that the term rain and fire is kind of a stupid way to name something anyway. Like rain of fire, maybe, not rain and fire, because those are...
Hellfire. I think they said hellfire.
Just, people are dumb. I don't know. I love the guys at Swan. I think Swan Bitcoin is an awesome organization. I'm still getting a little discount on my monthly Sats buys from them. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I have no fucking idea what happened inside their organization or what's driving this lawsuit. I hate speculating on that kind of stuff because I've got a little legal brain that says, no, let's not speculate until we get all the facts. And right now we just got one side of an argument. So I don't know. Maybe it's all true. Maybe these guys have maliciously undermined the entirety of the Swan organization and fucked them over horribly. I don't know. Maybe this is all a bunch of nonsense. I was just of the opinion, me and Fritz have fussed for a long time now about whether or not we should even be talking about this. Because I'm like, I don't want to wade in the middle of somebody's divorce, is my point. Like, and that's what we're talking about right now. It's a business divorce. And just getting in the middle of it and going, let's see what's going on in here. Because as anybody who's ever witnessed a divorce knows, one side keeps coming, oh, she's a fucking bitch, and she did this and that, and she sucked the dog's dick, and she did da-da-da-da-da, on and on and on. They're going to come up with all kinds of shit. The other side is going to come like, that's total bullshit. He was controlling, and he did this, and he beat me, and he locked me in a closet, and he threatened me with a knife. And at the end of it, if you're sitting there trying to figure out what happened, you're kind of going, you guys, that's a you problem, not a, I don't know. I'm just going to stand back here. But I'm sort of the opinion, it's like, if I got my best friend and his wife are getting divorced, and I'm best friends with the guy, going to go, well, I don't know, you're probably a turd too, maybe, but I'm still on your side, dude. I'm just going to stay out of your mess. That's sort of where I am with Swan. I go, you're the guys I kind of go, yeah, I'm on your side. I'm not getting in the middle of any of this stuff. I don't know what's happened. And it'll be interesting to see how the lawsuit plays out. But
yeah, and I am prone to want to dive in and figure out, man, what's going on? We only have one side of the story here, but you'd say, your friend said, no, here's a picture of her sucking a dog's dick. Oh, well, there's that then, I guess. Allegations, but there's some screenshots, a list of emails of a mass exodus, and yeah, allegations of what you could perceive to be a kind of mutiny. Now, if you're making a secret plan that you wish Swan would get into more mining, and you call it rain and hellfire, that's
but rain, come on, rain of, not and.
I think it's like raining, rain. If they're going to bring on the rain,
yeah, that's
and issue the hellfire.
Right, but then you'd put the hellfire out with your rain. Like that, it's supposed to be a rain of fire, not rain and fire.
Yeah,
which is what I think the guy said. I don't know. I don't know the veracity of these emails. And to the point about like, hey, I got a picture of my wife sucking my dog's dick. Like, there's, it's not like you can't fake something like that. I'm not saying Swan's faking anything. Here's the problem with standing in the middle. is both sides start getting pissed at you because you're going, well, I don't want to necessarily just believe everything you're telling me. So I'm not in the middle. All I can say is they are allegations. They have alleged something happened that they didn't like. But I can also tell you that if you are going to file a lawsuit, you will never, ever, ever file a lawsuit that's benign. You'll never go, well, I mean, you could kind of look at both sides, and it might have been something that they didn't intend, but, you know, we'd like to just sue them anyway because we just kind of want to figure stuff out. It's never going to happen. They're going to come in and say all the worst, horrible possible things, and they're going to put it in the worst possible, horrible context, and it's going to be, it's very rare that at the end of a dispute resolution process, such as a lawsuit, that you find that everybody has just got, one side's got totally clean hands and are just angels that didn't do anything wrong, and the other side are just evil monsters that were just trying to fuck people over. Sometimes it happens. I don't know. I just don't want to wade into the middle of it. But
without taking a side, all we have is the lawsuit of allegations from Swan's side.
Correct.
And on its face, it's like, holy crap, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what we got.
It'll be interesting to see the answer, because I got $50 right now that says when you read the answer to the complaint, if we can find the answer to the complaint, they're going to say, all of this is a lie, this is all bullshit, this is the real reason why, blah, 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 blah. And then they're going to have, and if you happen to be on the side of those people, they're going to look at it and go, see, there's compelling evidence that these guys weren't doing anything wrong. And so that's why they go to court. And that's why there's a guy in a black robe that sits there and goes, no, you can't bring that evidence in. Yes, you can. No, stop. No, we're not. No, you can't say that. Yeah, you can say that. Okay, well, we'll let you say it this time, just this once under these circumstances, but you can't say it next time because of this. And that's why they have all these rules, because when you're navigating conflict, it's a sticky wicket, a tricky wicket.
Mm-hmm. And I like Swan. I trust Swan, so I'm inherently kind of
oriented
towards, holy crap, this was a mutiny and a plan, and I can see Tether's motivations around it. I can see how people wishing we'd get into mining more and Swan's not wanting to. How do we make that happen? If Swan won't, how we can. Okay. Maybe.
I want to be on the side of Swan too, and I don't know them. I mean, they seem like really cool guys. I've never met any of them in person. I'm sure they'll be really cool guys. I'm going to be down there in a few weeks, so I'm probably going to meet some of these folks and say hi. And if, I don't think they ever watch this shit.
They're not watching.
Nobody's watching.
And if you ask them about this, they're not going to say anything either.
Huh? What? Hey, you want to talk about the lawsuit? Absolutely not. They won't even talk about the lawsuit. That's why it's sort of weird when people like us start talking about them, because the people involved can't talk about them, but we will. So
yeah, we're going to speculate all around what we think we.
It's like just hopping into the local gossip column and just like. And
it relates to the fact that Swan let go of a lot of other people and canceled Pacific Bitcoin and is no longer pursuing an IPO at this time. And we were all kind of going, wow, what happened? Well, we don't know, and there's good reasons for it. And then this comes out, it's like, well, that might have had something to do with it.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Or maybe they just fucked up their IPO. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not privy to the internal communications at Swan. I just know they give me a discount on my Bitcoin purchases by not charging me fees.
Up to $10,000.
Up to 10 grand. I'm almost there. Almost expired.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I use Swan. I like Swan.
I like Swan. I like River.
Biased.
Yeah.
I'm biased.
We're biased.
I'm just saying, I'm biased.
We're super, super biased. Yeah.
When I read, I haven't even read the lawsuit. What I'm reading is a distillation from Justin Beckler, who I thought did a great job of keeping it to the.
He got all Greta. It's like, how dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you?
Why would
these
pirates mutiny the Swan ship?
Yeah.
It's right there. Like, oh my God.
It'll be kind of hilarious if it turns out all this shit's true, and then those other guys get nuked. But but that's for a competent legal fact finder to determine, not a couple of plebs on some stupid YouTube channel or Rumble channel.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate Justin putting that thing out. He does a pretty good job breaking it down, and he makes very clear right up top, these are just allegations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that is good.
But that's like oftentimes when you're talking about journalism, media, whatever, that's covered for, okay, these are the alleged shooter. Now let's talk about all the ways this person's crazy. It's
Yeah.
like,
Well, I mean, we know, a shooter's clearly a CIA agent.
clearly,
The people being sued in this, Proton Management, that's
are clearly monsters.
That's Raphael Zaguri, Alpha Zeta, started Proton Management. So, and then a bunch of their employees, high-level employees.
The response will give you a lot more context. That's what I can tell you right now. Once they have a response to this thing, they're going to go through it line by line and just go, here's all the reasons why this is nonsense. And then, then I think the speculation can at least get a little juicier at that point. But the judge is going to be the one that ultimately, or a jury if it's a jury trial. But there's a possibility right now, just because they've filed a complaint doesn't mean that lawsuit's going to be allowed to proceed. It probably will. I mean, it sounds like the nature of the allegations they've made are going to be sufficient to overcome a presumption of this all being nonsense or not. But that's what the trial's for, so they can piece through it. And somewhere in there, maybe the other side, most of these things settle. Like, most people don't drag themselves through this because this process is incredibly invasive. It's incredibly damning for all parties involved, just like every fight. That's why people file lawsuits for all kinds of reasons, and a lot of them are strategic more than trying to get to the bottom of anything.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's any strategery involved or if there was actual fuckery going on, or I don't know what happened. So.
Yeah. And
I don't know.
What could be telling is that, Tether is not named in this, at least this lawsuit. Alpha Zeta is not named, other than perhaps via Proton Management in this lawsuit. So, yeah, the approach here is somewhat unknown as far as what they're going after and what they're willing to go after. But
it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
I want to follow this, and it's like when something comes out and you want to know more, so you naturally start speculating and filling in gaps. Yes, I want to know more. I want to find out what happened, but we have half the story right now.
We have half the story. We will have the complete story. I have a sneaking suspicion. Here, I'll make you a bet. I think this resolves probably within 2 to 3 years from now, and it'll resolve in a sealed agreement that nobody ever gets to find out the details of. That's my call.
Like all the important things we wish we knew more.
I'll bet you 100 Satoshis that 3 years from now, when we get to the end of this thing, it's going to be a sealed agreement that nobody knows the details to. And we'll never really know what happened, unless you were one of the insiders that were part of this big kerfluffle.
Well, in 3 years, 100 Satoshis might be a lot.
Yeah.
You got to think about that.
I'll just keep them roped off right now. Lately, I've been trying to figure out Nostr, and it's making my head explode.
I love the philosophy and technology behind Nostr, but I've also, the interface we use to do stuff, there's times where I'm like, what? How do I do this?
Fucking
Damn it.
boomer, man. It's so frustrating because, like, 2 things recently. I've started learning how to use Shaper 3D because I have an amazing new product coming online pretty quick here. It's going to revolutionize the industry. And designing that thing is problematic. So I'm learning new software, steep learning curve on getting into CAD. Surprise, surprise. And I've got a boomer brain, so like I'm getting less and less able to process this kind of stuff, and it's just like, fuck. And there's that native, like when I first sat down to learn Shaper 3D, I opened up the program, I watched a YouTube video, I did about 10 minutes, I went, no, I'm from the fuck that. Like I actually got physically exhausted. I just went, I need a nap. I can't.
Call your grandnephew to help you sort out Grandpa's technology.
Yeah, like it was.
What do I do? And they're like, oh my gosh, Grandpa.
I've been a tech forward guy my whole life. I've always been like breaking in new tech. And I think I'm just tired of it. Like
maybe we're getting old.
Yeah. Oh, that's very, very clear.
We're gonna be grumpy old men.
I'm already a grumpy old man.
As a Gen Xer, and that's the thing, growing up, starting into computers and coding in the 80s and into the 90s and just fully immersed, and I know what's going on. I'm constantly explaining to boomers how it works in the system.
Yeah.
Okay, I give up. Like, you don't have to ever get this, Grandma. Just know that it's money or whatever.
Right.
It's fine. It works. It's magical. And as I get older and stuff changes, sometimes, I mean, the chitter chatter on Nostr, guys that I follow, developer stuff, I make an effort to like, maybe I can understand this. And I'm like, oh my God.
So
Is
much
it just
more
that I
shit
don't
to
have
learn.
time?
Yeah.
Or am I getting dumber?
Yeah.
I start to consider myself as like an 80 IQer.
Yeah. I'm a total midwitter now, man.
I'm
Like,
just stay humble and stack sats. That's the best I can do anymore. I can't dive in so hard. I'm too dumb now.
yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. Like, I was trying to, like, all this, like, I signed up for Albi, the Albi extension, and then it's asking if I want to have my wallet, and then there's, like, this Nostr wallet connect thing, and I'm like, well, how come none of this connects to, like, my Strike wallet? Because that's a Lightning wallet. And so apparently I need some sort of custodial software wallet that I can connect to Albi. And then they're asking me to run a relay, which sounds like Albi's little custom-built, like, easy to set up Nostr relay, which I can host on my own system for free, or I can pay them 10,000 sats a month to host it on the cloud for me. I'm not giving 10,000 sats to anybody for any goddamn free or whatever. Despite the fact that I tipped some guy in Czech Republic like 5,000 sats playing a guitar. I don't know.
Yeah.
But someday, that, you know, I just gave that guy probably the equivalent of $5,000 in about 5 years from now.
In hindsight, we're going to look at all the
sats I was just flopping around, just like,
and if we'd only known, we're so stupid.
Jesus Christ, why did I give that guy 10,000 sats? That was crazy.
Should have starved harder.
Yeah.
I know what you're feeling. So, and like with Bitcoin, I think of, man, your private key, your golden crown jewels, you keep safe. When some third-party add-on or whatever wants your NSEC address to Nostr, it's like, what am I giving up here?
Yeah.
You have
what am I giving? Yeah.
Is that normal?
Well, I think probably in 5 years from now, people are like, oh, you should never have done that.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh, you never.
Well, fucking, I already did it.
So now I got to create a new profile and start over?
Yeah.
Shit.
I feel like I should just start another profile anyway. And just keep that one out of all, like...
2 accounts.
Keep my NSEC out your mouth.
Yeah, one's private and the other's for practicing.
Like spamming shit.
Yeah.
So I've reserved a Nostr name or a Nostr address on Bitcoin Nostr for my new identity that's going to be floating around somewhere. But I don't even know, like, do I have to get another client and then set it up new with my new identity? So I have 2 npubs out there, and I don't know. Some of these relays. I got Primal running right now. Like, none of the shit I post on Damas shows up on Primal for some fucking reason, or some of it does.
I can see it, but then he can't.
He can see it.
Yeah.
I can see all my shit on Damas.
It's probably relays. But
I tried. Well, they're the exact same relays on Damas and Primal. Identical. I went to Lynn Alden's thing on Damas, and I added all her relays. So there's I got 28 relays now or something like that. I can't figure out how to add relays on Primal.
We're getting old.
God, it's exhausting. But I wanted to put my book on Nostr, and I was talking to the highlighter guys in Czech Republic, and they're like, yeah, it's totally this and that, and you can do this, and it's long form. I was like, okay, sweet. And I went to do that, and it just fucking broke, man. I even messaged the guy on Primal. I was like, hey, man, we had a nice discussion at Prague. Any chance you could just have a quick chat and help me? Fucking nothing, dude. Just crickets. I'm like, oh. And I kind of feel like they maybe abandoned it. I don't know. So now I'm working on Habla News, habla.news. I think I can post the book there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Find out later today, I guess, because that's the plan right now.
Yeah. And you can share anything on Nostr. So you would think, well, just what's the best way to, you want to post a file. I've got a PDF. I've got a book in some format, whatever. Can you just it's like a few megabytes big. So what? What's the best way just to get that on Nostr as a link to something that people are sharing? Easy enough.
I just want it all in open text. I just want people
open text even?
Just read my book. If you want to read my book, hop on a Nostr client, go read the book.
Yeah.
Free of charge. You want to throw me some sats because you think it's swell, you think it's the best goddamn writing you've ever read? Awesome. If you don't, fine. I don't care. I just want the information out there.
And at some point, we'll probably figure it out and then be like, well, that was dumb.
Yeah, that's 100% what's going to happen.
You do this.
I'm going to put my book out, and it's going to be like, oh, I should have done all kinds of different things. Oops. Yeah. Shit. Fudge. But
well, on X, for example, could you just link to, say you have a PDF or a text file. Could you just link to that?
I suppose. I don't know.
Because otherwise, you can have a link out there, but you're relying on a place to host it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I have my website that I'm building out right now, and so I was thinking maybe I'll just put the whole book on my website too. But there's like Satoshi's library or something like that. Like, I'm going to send it to them and go, hey, will you post my book there too?
Yeah, cool.
For free, please, just so people can read it. Like, I just want people to read it if they find it interesting. I think it's interesting because I took the time to write it, obviously. Doesn't mean anybody else will. I don't know.
It's about the Great Realignment, and it makes me think, not to change the subject, but the interview that Saifedean had with Saylor last week.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I found it very fascinating because here's two very 95% like-minded guys.
Yeah.
That were just fighting over
clashing.
this few percent over kind of TradFi brain and more
ideologically driven Austria brain.
Yeah, and now I get what Saylor's saying. I feel like Saylor articulated pretty well aspects of the Great Realignment.
I thought so too.
He's talking about the Great Realignment.
Yeah,
and he's talking now. You have said before it could happen quite quickly. Saylor's kind of talking about give it 20, 30 years, but in the meantime, we're going to have TradFi issuing credit. There will be banks, there will be loans, you're going to be renting properties, you're going to be using the dollar all throughout.
Right.
And Bitcoin realigns all that.
Yeah. You know, a great thing he said in the middle of that, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, go ahead.
Is he said, you know, if I leave this earth and it's 20% better than when I got here, that's a win. And I went, yeah, exactly, 100%. That's the Great Realignment. The world is 20% better now. Awesome. We've done amazing things by doing just that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But continue, sorry.
Yeah, and I've read Saifedean's books, and he's looking at it from an economic perspective where Saylor is talking about why wouldn't you provide someone like, say, you've got a bunch of Bitcoin, get some yield off that by letting JP Morgan sit on it, and then through their resources and networking and then whatever investments, profit off having that. Let them do some work for you, and you get some interest off that.
Well, I think his point was for 5,000 years people have been doing that, so why would Bitcoin be any different?
Yeah.
Saifedean is still looking at things like, well, think about Celsius and BlockFi and FTX, and then Saylor's retort was, well, yeah, if you give a bunch of idiots that don't understand credit the keys to the kingdom, of course they're going to fuck it up.
Yeah.
JP Morgan is not those people.
Yeah.
Right?
And then Saifedean would, in Saifedean's defense, I saw him trying to bridge the apparent gap.
I did not. Anyway.
So what's tough about Saifedean is that his communication style can be kind of sharp and strong.
Yeah.
So at face value, it's kind of driving.
Mm-hmm.
And I did see Saifedean back off and say, I'm not saying that. I agree with you. And he's trying to get back to some economic principles. That basically in Bitcoin, there's no lender of last resort. And whenever you, basically... Okay,
well, it wasn't just Bitcoin. He was saying, under a sound money standard.
Yes.
And under true Austrian economics, there would be no lender of last resort.
Yeah. And so you think, well, but it's JP Morgan. Well, you say too big to fail, but what if we have future catastrophes where, geez, the government itself or the Federal Reserve itself is largely insolvent or can't bail out in any meaningful way, but you've got some Bitcoin locked up at JP Morgan that's all safe. Saifedean was saying there's no way to do that without, you don't lend out your Bitcoin like that and not incur some risk.
Right.
I think Saylor's feeling like it's fairly risk-free. And not that he's wrong, but yes, there's some risk.
Right.
I think Saifedean sees that as, no, what, they have your keys, right? Probably. You've given them your Bitcoin. It's not like, because otherwise you could just steal it back. Whoops, sorry, no.
Well, Saylor's point was there have always been old people that have money, and there's always young people that are looking for money.
Yeah.
And so if you're an old person that doesn't want to take risks by investing in equity, by investing in a business or a startup or stocks or whatever, and you have a big pile of money, the great thing for you to do with that money is to earn a yield on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
By lending that capital to other people so they can go take risks, right? And if you have sound lending practices, then that's a pretty cool system. It works pretty well. right now that system is broken because of fiat. And, Saifedean made some claim in there, which I agreed with Saylor. I was like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, if all these assets legitimately go to zero, then the whole world is fucking upside down. Like, you don't have a world anymore. You're existing in ANCAP Fantasyland. And it's not pretty for 95% of the people on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So Saylor's point, he said, was like, look, mine is an optimistic one. Mine is a one that says, hey, we get to keep doing all the things we're doing, and it just gets better over time.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing he kept sort of barbing back at Saifedean was like, what you're talking about is like the destruction of Western civilization. And it sounds like this communist, socialist, fucking weirdo shit. I don't even know what you're talking about, is what he kept saying.
So when I heard that, I was like, Saifedean's not saying that. I think what Saifedean was doing was looking far out ahead where, and maybe it's a view on time on all this stuff, but Saifedean is saying eventually, if we're really on a sound money standard, all the yield and interest rates you would expect are not what we kind of expect to have today, and that eventually it just makes less sense. Why not just hold your Bitcoin? And Saylor's retort would be like, what, you're saying you'd make it illegal to like rent your home? And he had these really punchy, snarky responses that were kind of defensive, I thought. I think Saifedean, I felt like he was trying to have a conversation maybe about the length of time on where this is all going. And Saylor was like, you're saying you want to make like credit illegal? And Saifedean's like saying, no. Anyone can do anything they want, but does it make as much sense over time?
What Saifedean was saying is it won't happen.
Yeah, eventually.
The cost of capital will get to a place where it's cheaper to sell the capital than it is to lend it out. Right. Was his core point that he made. And I think Saylor disagreed with that. And his point about you want to make it illegal, I don't think was quite on point.
Yeah.
And what I think he was ultimately getting at was like, well, what you're saying is somehow Bitcoin is going to magically make it so credit markets disappear. And that he fundamentally disagrees with. I fundamentally disagree with. I don't think that's, but Austrian economics suffers from the same things as libertarianism and Keynesian economics. They're all theories, and none of them are definitively true. So when people start going, well, it's going to, like Saifedean made some point, like interest rates have come down over the last 3,000 years. And he put in some chart where it was like 3,000 BC, and then interest rates were at 20%, and then they dropped here, and then there's this little jagged line. You go, what? Where are you getting that information from? I mean, it's just like this preposterous assertion that's made from, and Saifedean pointed to some book and said, oh, you should really check this book out. It's really fascinating read, and yada, yada, yada. Like, I don't know. It's just silly stuff. And
I guess I was hoping for more of a coming to terms with what the nuances of the disagreement, but Saylor struck me as being pretty defensive and on the attack. And Saylor's like this, where he gets on these strong monologues,
yeah,
and push. And then Saifedean, I thought, fairly diplomatically, was trying to argue points, and Saylor got really defensive and was like, what are you saying? Like, you're going to make that illegal? And Saifedean kept saying, no, people can do whatever they want. It just may not make as much sense. Why not just stack Bitcoin? Like, right. Anyone can stack Bitcoin. You don't have to hold it somewhere and expect yield.
Well, and that was the point they were dickering on, right? Yeah. It's like, well, what would be the point of that? He said, if you have zero rate of return on your asset, then it's a non-performing asset. So that's no good. And right now, the thing that makes Bitcoin performant is it is a monetary premium asset, right? But once the monetary premium starts coming down, if you cannot get yield on that asset, then it's problematic for long-term saving,
mm-hmm.
right? Because you can't have like infinite appreciation of something.
Right.
So, well, I guess you could have infinite money, infinite appreciation in nominal terms. But, they were talking about two different things, like, Saylor was talking in nominal terms. Mm-hmm. Saifedean was talking in real terms.
Yeah.
The assumptions either side of that debate were making were very, I don't know. Like, I think Saylor's prognostication is probably closer to what reality reflects than what Saifedean is talking about, was my takeaway from it.
Yeah, Saifedean is definitely a long-term, more philosophical thinker and rooted in Nostrian economics. And I think Saylor is operating in the here and now reality of this is how things work. And he's used to operating in those circles. And
well, that's the only circle you can operate in. You cannot operate outside the bounds of reality. Like Ayn Rand said, what was that my test post, where like, you're free to live in whatever fucking fantasy land you like. You're not free to exist that way, though.
Right.
You can have all kinds of fanciful ideas about how things should be or how they ought to be or what might be, but you have to deal with the hard reality. Like if you go, well, I should be able to fly, and then you jump off a building, gravity's going to win, period. But the notion that we're going to get rid of 5,000 years of sovereign rule and banks and leadership and all that kind of, it's just like when I was talking to the guy from Bitcoin Way, he said, philosophically, I can't see a rationale for why we have sovereign rule, right? I go, yeah, that's a fair point. There is no like philosophically rational reason why we should defer to someone else in a power structure. And we live in a power structure. Like, just because it's not philosophically sound doesn't mean someone with a bat won't conk you on the head and make it happen, right?
Right.
So you either deal with what is or you live in a world of what might be. And the world of what might be ignores a lot of very complicated mechanisms. And that was also one of Saylor's points, is he said, look, my message is Bitcoin good. Buy Bitcoin. Store Bitcoin. If you can lever Bitcoin, even better.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of, he said the rest of this stuff that we're talking about, central banks and lending and credit and sovereign rule and governments and bond markets and all that stuff, he said, are enormously complex. And I agree 1,000%. That is an enormously complex piece of machinery that we've created. And people tinker with it at great, great peril. That is my 2 cents. I agree with Saylor more than Saifedean.
And those
Saylor won.
Saifedean, they agreed to disagree, and I wish they would have fleshed it out a little more diplomatically, I guess. They basically, I don't know, maybe they left on good terms, but it was not really.
Oh, they were smiling
They
and
disagreed.
talking. Yeah, they disagreed.
And as it plays out, big complicated systems, as we know, as they realign, we don't know how that will look. It may be that things we presume, like, oh yeah, I'm just going to put it away in that account and I'll get yield and I can live off that and I'm a little trust fund baby. Does that ultimately work in Bitcoin forever? I don't know. Maybe you've got to rely on the fact that people are actually making and producing stuff and generating economic income and not just. So Saifedean, I think, often looks at it from the perspective of all the little guys who all have their own bits of Bitcoin and how do they navigate and have an economy that works. And Saylor's used to big pots of people in his position where, yeah, you're maneuvering.
Well, I think Saylor is also looking at it from the reality of people that are smallholders, right? Like, if you want to go take out a loan to buy a car, as one of Saylor's points, like, who is to say that's not a good idea?
Right.
You took out a loan to buy a car.
Mm-hmm.
So, do we want to get rid of that mechanism? No, I don't think so. But that's how, that's how the world sort of functions. That's the world we're playing. That's the game we are embroiled in. Those are the rules we're following. And like it or not, that's sort of the reality right now. It is a Leviathan beast that is self-replicating at this point. And there is no one in charge of market economy, right? Like, it just does what it does now.
Mm-hmm.
So if we take for granted that the entirety of our existence is built upon that Leviathan beast, we can't slay the beast without slaying ourselves.
Right. I think Saifedean probably believes that eventually the beast will just slay itself. And Saylor's saying, no, it will always be there, and different people will use it in different ways. But then in the meantime, accusing Saifedean and saying, you would say this would be illegal or that you're socialist, and Saifedean saying people can do whatever they want. So I don't know why Michael was making those attacks.
I don't know where that came from either, because I did not think that was on point, because he was clearly not saying I would make it illegal. What Saifedean kept saying, or Saifedean, or however you pronounce it, was saying repeatedly is that the nature of Austrian economics says savings is the thing. This capital, eventually, it will be cheaper to sell the capital than it is to hoard it. And that's how the economy should function, right?
Yeah.
Like, I save up some money, then I expend it. To which Saylor said, what would be the point of me investing in anybody if I didn't get a return for my risk?
Mm-hmm.
I would never invest that money. If all I could do is just sit on my savings and be Scrooge McDuck, it would be pointless for me to have it, because yes, I can spend it on myself, but then I'm losing my capital every time I use it.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I want to do that? That doesn't make any sense for me to save up that kind of thing. So, I don't know. One is a philosophical, ideological debate. The other is just a practical reality of how the world works. And given the choice between the two spheres, I choose to just deal with the world we have, not the world I wish we had.
Yeah, and Saylor, thinking in nominal terms, everything's framed around, the value in the dollar, which is our language and what we know and what works right now. And I think Saifedean looks at a Bitcoin standard where no, everything is Bitcoin and the dollar is doomed to inflate itself to oblivion.
Potentially.
So,
well, I mean, and that's sort of, like I said, it's a philosophical debate at that point. It's not, that's, a realm of what ifs and maybes, not what is.
The dollar will heal itself and be valuable someday.
Well, there's no one saying that. I mean, that's not at all what Saylor was saying. You can historically anticipate about 7% inflation rate, and that was true all through the gold standard era. So sound money doesn't necessarily equate to, but in terms of transactional mediums and things like that, like, I still don't see a very clear path on how the world transacts in Bitcoin routinely without having custodial solutions in the middle. And if that's true, then how is that better than a sovereign with an in-principle guarantee of rights about how you distribute those things versus just some private actor that can do any goddamn thing he wants with it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where I get to be like, well, I'm an 80% IQer, and I'm just going to stay home and stack sats. I wouldn't imagine saying, hey, trusted big bank, yeah, you hold my Bitcoin, and I'll get some yield off that. I'd be like, what am I trusting here? What is the risk there? It's not nothing. Like, just who knows what could happen.
Well, I mean, you trust the bank to custody the house you live in.
Yeah, I mean, I trust the bank, I guess, to track my debt. As far as like accumulated savings, I start to think, well, it's for me, it's Bitcoin. Be like, well, keep it all in Bitcoin, keep it personally responsible and safe that way.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to play out. It'll be interesting. I just don't think capital markets are going to go away. I don't think credit markets are going to go away. I don't think banks are going to go away. I don't think sovereigns are going to go away. And I don't think sovereign issued currency is going to go away. I just don't see that happening anytime in the near future.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it would be net mass destruction if we tried.
Yeah, Saylor said that, like, it shouldn't happen too fast. It all needs to steadily shift.
Yeah, 100%. If you have it, catastrophic shifts in that are fatal, like absolutely 100%. Like, there's just no way to navigate that without collapsing everything you know and love.
Mm-hmm. And Saifedean's background, growing up in
Lebanon,
Palestine, perspectives on bank runs and massive inflation, and he has reasons to very much not trust governments and banks, and it could be like, well, if the shift happened quickly and things did break, so be it. That's, basically, as a Bitcoin maxi, he'd be like, well, the shift could be quick and hard, and come what may.
Yeah, everybody dies. So.
Everyone dies.
Yeah, everyone dies. Seriously, like, it's not a question of like whether or not that might happen. That's a 100% guaranteed outcome. If you just said tomorrow everybody's on a Bitcoin standard, everybody dies. Well, if you're like a poor, starving person in Africa, you'll probably be still poor and starving. But everybody in the West is toast because there's none of these people are capable of supporting themselves.
Yeah, the basis of a sound economy would be actual capable people who actually do and produce stuff, and have something they've created to trade, sell, and capability of buying stuff. Like that's what an economy is, not like hoarders who get yield off what. That itself being based on, well, investing in the people who do that stuff, and then.
Well, I think what Saylor is saying comports well with Austrian economic theories, which is, hey, if you've had time to accumulate capital, then the smart thing for you to do is to use that capital to help further and foster and grow the economy, right?
Invest in people who are doing stuff.
Potentially, or you give that to a custodian who then turns around and is better able to manage that risk, and they invest in people that are creating
like
things.
Banks are connected with people saying, hey, we're doing this stuff, help us out, the return will be good.
Yeah, well, that's the function of banking, right? Is like, there's a credit spread, you get a little, they get a little, and someone else gets to try a new idea.
Yeah.
If you have to go and vet every single credit application that you get, it's just like being a lottery winner, and then all of a sudden all your fucking hillbilly cousins come out and go, I got this great idea for a jet ski company, and you're just like, well, I don't know. So if you're responsible for evaluating all credit risks and you're not an expert at evaluating credit risks, then that's a terrible way to run an economy. But if you have institutional holders that are experts, absolutely outstanding at figuring out what good and bad credit, well, I shouldn't say that because they just fucked all that up with derivatives, but in theory, before they started tinkering with stupid shit under a fiat standard, they were outstanding at evaluating credit risks because they would go bankrupt if they didn't, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, gradually, and then suddenly we're going to look around and everything's going to be better. That's my thesis.
And the impatient Bitcoin maxi part of me is wanting the suddenly, but selfishly, that would also be bad for the system at large.
Well, that would be bad for you personally, because suddenly for you means no more Tesla, no more house, no more. You're going to have some strongman come in and just tell you what you're going to be doing. Period.
Oh, I'm armed. I might be in charge of this little shit town.
Yeah, zero chance.
Master Blaster
Zero
runs
chance.
shit town.
Zero
I'll be Master
chance.
Blaster.
Yeah.
I'll be driving around my Tesla with a big mounted machine gun, just being like, staying in line. You hodling your Bitcoin. Okay.
Yeah.
Stay out of trouble.
Until your pager bomb goes off.
I'm gonna get supply chain attacked.
Yeah, you get smoked, or your Tesla battery blows up.
And thinking of the sovereign authorities, so say there was no government at all, but government's gone and it's all just community.
There is no world where there is no government.
Well, we're like in our line of work, what we relate to is like, well, we're all gonna want like someone like a sheriff or a sheriff and his posse, who we could evict some way somehow if needed. But it's like people are having trouble, and depending on what neighborhood you're in, your community watch can't handle it. You need the sheriff to come help. So it's like, yeah, okay, well, we want a sheriff to like, hey, we need help over here.
Whatever, you big government fucking goon.
Yeah, no, we want a sheriff who we would collectively pay to do that job, and then there's some form of governance going on, at least law enforcement. Like without anything.
I have very strong arguments against that thesis.
you talk about sheriffs in your book.
Well, I talk about government in my
government.
book.
Yeah.
I mean, the formation of these power structures comes from chaos. Like, when you have conditions that are chaotic, and you have gangs ganging up and looting and doing what gangs do, which is self-interested in conditions of chaos. If we went full-on Bitcoin standard tomorrow and all this shit was melting down, it would behoove us to group up and go, okay, we need to defend ourselves against that and to make sure that we preserve what we have and maybe get some more shit. And that's going to lead to conflict with other people that have the same fucking idea, right? So we're going to be fighting all the time. And then there's going to be a group of people gets together and goes, hey, this is really fucking everything up. Like, everyone's dying and this sucks. We need to get some order around here because otherwise we're all going to be dead. And people go, yeah, that's a good idea. How about we do that? And so that group of people will become your new bosses, period. There's no way around it. You don't get to go like, well, I don't want to play in that game. I'm gonna.
I'm opting out. Okay, just leave me alone.
Zero chance.
Until you need help, and then.
Yeah, they're gonna come and just force you to do that. You're gonna be part of the group, and if you don't group up, then you're just gonna get wrecked. And then whatever group that has the most power in your area is just gonna have your shit. That's it. That's just the way that game gets played. And then you let that percolate for about 2,000 or 3,000 years, and you have a government again. So it's.
Yeah.
You're not getting, if you are in a competitive resource capture based economy, you're not getting away from governance, period. Zero chance, not going to happen. Everyone's not going to get kumbaya and have agreements about who's going to do what, who has what guns, and blah, blah. It just doesn't happen. That's not the way the world works. Never has, never will. You want to live in that world, get rid of the competitive resource capture based economy.
Humans will find a way to find conflict and fight over. Like, if there's no problem going on, we'll find one.
Well, if you are able to hoard resources and you are able to capture and exclude people from resources, then you're always going to have conflict. So you want to get away from that, don't hoard resources. But then your market economy just goes right out the fucking window. And you're back to gathering food, which we don't have enough food on the planet to gather it that way without some sort of centralized resource production capabilities. So as long as you have that, then you have to have some sort of way to protect those sovereign resources, your resources, or else someone's just going to come and steal them, because that's what always happens. So that's where all these armies and all this shit comes from, is someone goes, hey, this is mine, and someone else goes, well, I want it, and why should you have it? And then they fight over it, and whoever wins that fight gets to control those resources until someone else comes along and goes, hey, I want those, and I have a bigger thing than you do, so we're going to take those. And you can either fight it off, and if you win, then you get to control your resources and their resources, or they get to come and take over your resources, period. But on and on and on it goes, rinse and repeat, until you start coming up with structures that go, well, here's how you can take resources, here's how you're allowed to steal things, here's how you're not allowed to steal things, and if you do these things, and these people will make it so you can't do those things again, and then there's this guarantee of rights and yada yada yada. But all that comes from base power structures in a competitive resource capture based economy. You know who doesn't fight over resources? Hunter-gatherers. So why? Because they live in a world of abundance. They go, oh, I'm just going to go pick some fruit over here. And someone comes along and goes, that's my fruit. They go, all right, well, I'll go over here and get some fruit from over here. But the second someone tries to rope off all of the fruit, then someone else is going to come along and go, hey, how come you're taking all the fruit? And then they're going to fight.
In a hunter-gatherer environment, I can see where you can hit a stasis. Now, if you're doing well, what's tough about that is population balance. Like, if you're doing well, your population's growing. And as your population grows, people have to expand or spread, and then you hit boundary overlaps, or, hey, there's not enough deer for both of us in this one forest. And, you know, maybe even hunter-gatherer situations, you do run into conflict.
They did not.
Ever.
There are so few recorded instances of mass conflict among hunter-gatherer tribes, it's scarcely worth mentioning.
Maybe by the time they moved on from hunter-gathering, they also invented written language.
Well, there's agriculture first, and then about 7,000 years later, you get words. So there's a huge gap in history there, and that's sort of.
So once you're storing up stuff, like, hey, we've got a bunch of stuff, or say you're gardening, and like some people have this nice garden, and then others are doing less successfully gathering in their own way, but there's that garden right there. Like, hey, you start out nice. Hey, can I have some of those? Sure, for trade. Okay, a little bit works out. Later, we need more. For what? Oh, we don't really have anything. Come on, just give us some. Well, what do you have to do? Take it?
Well, that's not how it works. They roll in and they beat the shit out of you, and they just take it. Like, there's no. Well, it doesn't even. That's where it starts. They just come and go, hey, they got a lot of shit. Like, we don't have shit.
Basically, you come to that conclusion, like, well, yeah, we could play these games and play nice, or just take it.
Well, there's 3 of them, and there's 20 of us.
Yeah.
And they have a bunch of stuff. Well, let's just go get that stuff because we're hungry.
Yeah.
End of story. And then, you know, but that's. So what that evolves to is they roll into town and go, hey, you know, things are pretty scary out there. You might want us to protect you from those scary, scary people. So how about you give us some stuff? And if you go, I'm not giving you shit. And then they come back and beat the shit out of you and go, see, I told you. Some really dangerous people around here.
With us, but now we get all of it.
Well, not even we get all of it. They just make it's called extortion, right?
Or we're going to show up again. You know the rules.
That's how the mob operates right now. Like if you go into those old Italian neighborhoods in the 1920s, the mob would come into your store and go, "Hey, how about you give us about like 20% of what you make?" And the guy goes, "Go fuck yourself."
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know, there's some real dangerous people around here, but if you give us 20%, we'll make sure those dangerous people don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go fuck yourself. Then next thing you know, your store burned down, your windows get smashed, your kid gets beat up. They come back and go, "We told you there's some real dangerous people around here. We can make sure that those people don't harm you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Just pay us. There's your tax."
Yep.
You go, "Okay, well, I don't like that you beat the shit out of my kid. I don't like that you broke all my windows. I don't like that you burned half my store down. So here's your cut. Are you sure you leave it?" And they go, "Yeah, that's fine." And then, you know, a year later they go, "Well, no, the cut's now 30%.
Mm-hmm.
Then 40%. And then some new gang comes in and goes, "Hey, we can protect you from that gang, and we'll only charge you 30%. You go, "Well," and then you got to weigh your options. And do you think this gang can protect you better? But that's how El Salvador ran with all those extortion rackets. Hey, you don't want to get robbed every day? Pay me.
Mm-hmm.
Which means I'm just institutionalizing your robbery.
Well, and to this day, I've got a little story about modern day policing. I mean, it may happen in areas of America, but I have an anecdote from 25 years ago. A friend that I knew at the time, she'd come with her family from South Korea. They start a business. And it was kind of like well, for one thing, coming to America, it was like, you know, crime wasn't bad. And they never really saw the police. But when they did, so say like an officer came in to have lunch at your restaurant.
Right.
And they'd say, "Oh, no, it's free. It's free. Here, have more, have free." And the ethical officer said, No, I'm paying. I'm a customer. I'm paying.
Right.
I am on duty. I appreciate it. You like law enforcement.
Thank you.
I am paying for this meal.
I have to.
And they were like, no, this should be free. And there was kind of, maybe you could call it cultural. The story being that back in South Korea, when they had that business, the police came around and were like,
expected.
You haven't had too much crime, have you? No? Okay. We're having lunch here. Yes, sir.
No problem.
They're not paying.
Right.
And there were times, depending on if you have a laundromat, well, they don't have laundry to do, but they come around and they're kind of like, crime has been good, you know, not bad crime around. Like, they took a tip for their employment as, I don't know what part of South Korea this was, but for their job, they came around and they just kind of hit businesses up like, you like the protection you're getting?
Yeah.
Because you pay for that and whatever taxes they pay for paying the police, but that was kind of the culture of it.
Yeah, that's the same extortion racket I just laid out.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah.
So,
and that was not, I mean, okay, call it 25 years ago, but that was in South Korea. There's areas in America where that has happened and maybe
still happens to this day. Just go to Chicago.
You could probably go to Chicago and be like,
yeah.
So, you like the protection you got here?
Well, they do, I mean, all sorts, like, my law professor was in Chicago, and he said it was kind of cool in a way, because, like, if your kid got tripped up on something, you could just go, "Hey, man, here's a couple $100. How about you kick
go deal with this particular thing?"
No, like, let my kid go.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, okay, sure. You know, and that was it. I mean, but it's, that's always the hustle. My buddy, not a buddy, it was a guy I used to work with ages ago, won a bar in Chile in a poker game. The guy said, "Yeah, here you go. I'll put this up." It was a big pot. I think the bar was worth about $5,000 or something like that. He won the bar. He won the hand. He went, I'm going to go down there and check it out. Local cop showed up one day and said, "All right, well, you know, we provide a lot of policing presence here." And he said, "Okay, well, what's it going to take?" The guy said, "You give us 2 Cokes." And he went, "Coca-Colas?" "Yeah. Every day we come in, we get a Coke." And they went,
Easy enough.
There you go, guys. But it's still the same extortion.
It starts there.
Yeah.
It starts there, and then, yeah.
Well, but the local drug dealer then came by like a week later and said, "Hey, what are you doing here, gringo?" And my buddy, or my guy I used to work with, said he didn't know where he got the bravado, but he stood up to the guy and said, "Hey, man, I don't do that shit in here. You don't bring it in here. This is my place. I don't mess with your stuff outside of here. You don't mess with my stuff in here." And the guy went, "Okay, cool." And left him alone. I was like, wow, interesting. But he had to deal with the hustle. But that's the same competitive resource hustle that's gone back since the dawn of agriculture. is that exact hustle right there.
The protection market.
The protection market, the protection racket.
Hmm.
That's, if you want to know where sovereignty came from, it's born in a protection racket. 100%.
Power.
Yeah, that's where power comes from. You create chaos, you bring order to chaos, and then you extort people until you're in power. That's it.
You could even say you would benefit by having chaos in your ecosystem.
Chaos
and if
is
there's
a ladder.
No chaos, create some.
Oh, yeah, that's what the CIA does. Yeah.
Problem, reaction, solution. Hey, we've always got a solution, just wishing it had some more assertive powers. We need another problem. Let's make a problem.
That is the CIA, the American CIA is the world leading expert at that. They are outstanding at toppling and destabilizing shit. But so are the Russians. I mean, everyone's, every spy agency in the world is pretty good at, I think our current system is being destabilized and toppled by all sorts of foreign influences.
Like perpetual war for perpetual peace.
Right. That's the nature of competitive resource capture.
Money, 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 money.
Yeah, if you are competing to capture resources, you're just going to get fuckery for eternity. That's why Bitcoin is so cool, because it changes that baseline rule. You go, how do you acquire that property right? Well, you can't fuckery it. You have to acquire it through legitimate means. And that changes the whole game. That changes competitive resource capture to competition to create resources rather than competition to steal resources. That's where that fundamental rule shift changed. It's a huge fucking deal. The Great Realignment.
The Great Realignment.
Available now on Amazon in Kindle in 2 days.
Is it public now on Amazon?
Well, the Kindle version. Paperback.
Kindle. Amazon.
Yeah, paperback version drops on September 30th. I gave it a little delay just in case I found any sort of weird hiccups and bullshit in there. But I also want to time my Nostr release for the same day so I can just hop on Twitter and go, hey, I've been working on this goddamn thing for like nearly 8 months, and buy now or go read.
I wonder if I can find it right now.
The Great Realignment.
There it is. Maybe.
There it is. Number one result.
$9.95. Number one result. Available instantly. Kindle. Awesome. You can go find it, folks. Right on Amazon.
Earn 30 points.
Yeah.
7 megs. 260 pages in the print length, allegedly. I think it's actually closer to 230 or 240, but whatever.
That's awesome.
I've got print books going to be showing up on October 1st.
I was just going to say, for people's backdrop in their podcasts, and they want to have that bookshelf next to the Bitcoin Standard, they could someday have the Great Realignment.
I hope so. That would be fucking dope.
Some people just want to have that book,
Yeah.
I love having, like, I can always read it, I know, or it's online, I know, but people love having, like, the book.
All right.
Even if they never crack it because they've already read it,
right.
It's on their bookshelf right next to the Bitcoin Standard.
Yeah, that would be dope.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could get on that same shelf as like some of those luminaries of the space, that would be awesome. I don't hold any illusions about my ability to influence a conversation.
Well, you're going to be on another appearance on what is it, a forum or a podcast?
Yeah, Web Wolf. I got that weird invite from Mario Nafal. Nafal, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but the guy followed me, and then his assistant or whoever sent me a little message, said, hey, we'd like you to join the conversation. I went, oh, okay. I hopped on the thing. I sat there for like 45 minutes. I was never given speaker privileges. I don't know if they just, I didn't quite understand what was happening. So, but then,
group?
Yeah, there's like a group of people talking. They're talking about DPIN, decentralized physical infrastructure, and not exactly my wheelhouse of expertise, but at the end of it, I couldn't tell if they just invited me to be a listener, which seems like a really odd way to outreach to people, or if they had intended to invite me as a speaker and I just didn't get across, or what. I don't know. But these guys
Can I unmute?
Well, no, I never did. I mean, I sat there just like, request speaker. Nope, nothing, just ignored. So I was like, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of cool that some guy with 1.6 million followers is following me. But it was basically just kind of a shitcoin show anyway. Like they're like all this DPIN stuff. The funny thing was the first two speakers were like these total Bitcoin maxis, and they were just like, okay, so where is this coming from? And one of the guys got chewed out a little bit. He said, hey, you're coming in with a shitty attitude and this and that. And I was like, well, he's bringing up good points. And then the guy right after him was like, well, I'm a Bitcoin guy. And yeah, where's all this? Like, you guys we've been hearing this story for 10 years about all this amazing shit that's going to happen with crypto, and none of it's ever come true. My thing when I'm listening to it, like, I don't know if you know anything about decentralized physical infrastructure, but
Not really.
there's zero reason to have a branded token associated with it. Like,
Sure.
the blockchain thing might work, like it might help you navigate your supply chain or help you manage where shit's going or who's got what.
Mm-hmm.
All makes perfect sense. Why do I need a branded token I have to pay for to get that?
Exactly.
Zero reason for that. Like,
That's always my question with these ideas is like, somebody may have a great idea and it may solve some problems or there's reason for it to be on a blockchain. Cool.
Yeah.
Why does it have to have a token, and why does it have to have a dollar value of some kind that you can equate? And then why does it have to be listed on exchange? And there's why the investment in it that way versus just having a good idea that works for a purpose?
Right. Yeah.
No. It always goes back to and put in money.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's the reason right there.
Exactly.
Like, how do you make money off this thing? Well, we come up with this great sounding use case for our branded token that we're going to make a shit ton of money off of. You guys invest in it, and then we'll just pitch you on the idea.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all vaporware, dude. Like if you're a supply chain company, you deal with logistics, you're a trucking company or something like that. The smart thing for you to do is to go, hey, this blockchain thing sounds pretty cool. Boop, 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 boop. Hey, are you a blockchain developer? Yeah. Hey, can you come design me a blockchain? Just base it off these guys. Just get rid of that branded token part. We just want to use that to manage our infrastructure. We'll pay you 10 grand. Okay, sure, no problem. And then they copy paste the code and they change a few parameters. They go, here, now all of your materials are on the blockchain. So you always know where everything is. Oh, thanks, that's great. Here's your check.
Sure.
Done. Why do I need Ethereum to do that? You don't. Why do I need Solana to do that? You don't.
Yeah.
That's all. It's just a fucking money grab, dude. It's a goddamn naked hustle to divorce very unsophisticated investors from their money. That's it.
I'm always suspicious, like even with Amazon, like, oh, you'll earn 30 points if you do this or that. Like, and people kind of start accruing points. Or your credit card company says, hey, the more you buy, the more points you earn, or you can use it for gas. Like, okay, like there's these benefits to having the thing. But then it's like the business, imagine the business like Amazon, brokering all this stuff. But their business keeps talking about, hey, you can just buy points. You can trade points. Here, and now it's like a points business. And yeah, we also like sell books.
Right.
But buy our points. It's just like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Can I just buy books?
Well, their margins are so tiny, but their volume is just extraordinary.
Yeah.
The book selling thing is actually kind of a neat hustle because, like, for people like me, it's 99% of the books on Amazon are fucking vanity publishing, right? Like, they're just like, I think I have something important to say. Like this guy.
And you can self-publish. Like, that's awesome.
Right. But the thing is, the self-publishers, they always buy their own book, right? Like, I bought 5 proof copies at $3.72 each. They probably made, 15, 20 cents margin on that at least. But you multiply that by 10 million authors who think they have the next great fucking whatever book, and all of a sudden you got a nice little income stream just from a bunch of boobs that'll never sell a fucking copy of their book ever, right? But if you happen to stumble across a handful of people that actually end up self-publishing and doing really well with it, then you get all kinds of margin on top of that too. So you end up, like, you don't have to do any sort of author development. You don't have to do any sort of, like, trying to find the next great thing. You just get to throw shit at the wall, and then whatever sticks, you make money off of. If it doesn't stick, you make money off of it. So it's, like, brilliant, right?
Yeah.
So if you're Little Brown and Company, or you're Simon and Schuster, or you're one of these big publishing houses, they have all this, like, infrastructure they have to support to try and make sure that whatever authors they put out there and promote do well, or else they lose money because it costs them money to do all this shit. But now with, like, print on demand, they can take more risks and they can spread their marketing dollars out a little bit better because they don't have to invest in all that upfront, like, printing books that are going to sit there like, oh, we got 10,000 books and we sold 12. So that was a terrible investment. Oops,
Yeah.
And back in the day with vanity publishing, what would happen is these guys would write a book. Someone like me would go write a book. Then I would go to a printer, say, hey, print me 5,000 copies of this, because that's the only economical way to do it. And then I would have 5,000 books in my fucking garage that I would go around trying to sell to people out of my trunk or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I would incur this enormous upfront cost to realize that, oh, publishing is harder than I thought. And then I just end up with 5,000 books in my garage until my wife goes, are we ever going to get rid of this shit? And you go, honey, but any day now someone's going to realize how brilliant I am.
I can't put the stroller in the trunk because it's full of books.
Yeah.
Are you selling these?
What were we doing? Like, I support you, honey. I think it's great that you wrote your book. And, you know.
Yeah.
So Amazon kind of fixed that problem.
Yeah. And anyone in the world can find it and download it, and the access is awesome. It was interesting. Like Saifedean created a publishing house and brought in other, and it's Bitcoin oriented, of course, but his own books and then other people's books, and they're into like, hey, order the physical copy, and they're, they built up that infrastructure. It's pretty cool. In that podcast, I do wish Saifedean had spoken more to his view on the Great Realignment.
I don't think he has a view on the Great Realignment.
I don't. That's the thing. Maybe I'm not hearing it, and I wish I knew how he articulated how he sees it occurring, or if it's not an alignment, it's a collapse. I just wish I heard that, and it just never came forth. And Saylor was attacking him, and it just was left kind of like unclear. Like, Saifedean, how do you see this transitioning?
Well, he wrote the book, it's Bitcoin Standard. That's how he sees it transitioning.
Yeah.
Everything becomes Bitcoin.
Everything is just
denominated
Bitcoin. But like, what does that mean? Like, what Saylor's points were about was like, well, what does that actually look like?
Correct.
Guess.
Yeah. Right.
So, and that's my question is, what does that actually look like?
Have you read the Bitcoin Standard?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's for me, the Bitcoin Standard, it's a little high level in ways.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get into like, okay, like when Saylor asked questions about like, okay, well, people are still doing stuff.
Right.
So how juxtaposed with a Bitcoin Standard?
Right. What does that
all
mean?
that goes away?
Yeah. Right.
Like,
where does this go?
People are still going to rent a room in their house, or issue credit, or take a loan, right?
Right.
And that's kind of left a mystery.
Unspoken. Yeah. Because it's philosophical and ideological.
Yeah, it's more philosophical.
I mean, there's no practicality to it, but there's never been any practicality to libertarianism, anarcho-capitalism, anarchy, Austrian economics, Keynesian economics. Like, none of these things have practical application. They are all highly theoretical, and then people sort of make do with whatever structure evolves from it. But
I was disappointed not to hear that, and I think maybe they could. I think Saifedean's capable of articulating that, but he didn't, because I think Saylor was upfront with his position very clearly, and Saifedean kind of backed off, couldn't bridge the gap, and left it like, well, we kind of disagree on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's nothing else to do. Like,
I wanted to hear Saifedean's side on that.
I don't think. Well, he was sort of voicing it, and Saylor would just talk over him, basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're, like, I think Saylor is very strong in his opinions and the stuff he's thought about, and I think Saifedean is very strong in his opinions and what he's thought about. And I think if you take the two on balance, I think Saylor has the better argument of the two. Ultimately, is my sort of take on it all. And yet,
it's grounded in current practices.
Well, it's just grounded in like how the world works, right? So I don't know.
And then I dare to dream, and I imagine that Bitcoin Standard, and like call it 100 years down the road. Where does it really play out eventually? I mean,
I got a typo in my description. God bless America.
You do? Wow.
Well, I got the title wrong. The Great Realignment, Money, Power, and Bitcoin. It's supposed to be Power, Money, Greed, and Bitcoin.
Oh. Easy to fix.
Easy to fix. I got to go fix that. Dadgummit. See, it's little shit like that. There's so many little things. Making a Kindle book out of your paperback, huge fucking pain in the ass. That was not easy. That software is clunky as shit. All of this, laying out a bibliography, translating all this shit. I uploaded it the first time in a docx file. Just absolutely fuckeried my formatting, so I had to output a PDF, put that all up there. That finally seemed to work in the paperback. I don't know. And
takes
then
work. This is a proof of work here.
oh my God, so much work. It's fucking stupid. And they make it really easy these days. Like
Yeah, that's the thing.
like almost anybody can do this if you just want, if you're willing to waste, and I mean waste, liberally waste a lot of time on something that's probably not going to sell more than 10 copies, then yeah, go for it. But it's kind of like doing a podcast.
Back in the day, well, yeah. Making a successful podcast.
Yeah. What do you do? Just keep showing up and hope no one minds that our audio still sucks and our picture
audio
still
sucks, folks.
And our graphics still suck and our fucking everything still
I think
sucks.
it looks beautiful. Well, if I lean in, my face is all white. I think, well, I remember back in the early 90s or maybe late 80s where I'd be going down to Kinko's. Kinko's was a bit, where did Kinko's go? They're gone.
That's FedEx now, dude.
Oh, did FedEx buy them?
Yeah.
So
it's a pretty convenient place to drop off packages, and there's still people that make banners and shit like that there and still pay for it. You know, I actually worked it out. You can get a FedEx Kinko's account, and you can, if you need to print a document, you can just send it to Kinko's and then show up, enter a code, and then print out whatever pages you need for about 6 cents a copy. And I worked it out where I would have to print 2,500 pages at Kinko's before I would equate the amount of money it would cost me to go buy my own printer. Way more cost effective, aside from the fact that you have to drive down there, because I didn't calculate the gas and the time. But yeah, by the time just buying one shitty printer that's going to break in about 2 months, it's so much more.
Yeah. Thinking of, back in the day, the proof of work involved in writing a book, say, or whatever. And as a kid, I would ride my bicycle down to Kinko's with my stacks of papers of things I'd written down, video game codes and maps and funny, just hobby
stuff.
I was a little video game nerd, and some code, but I would sit and make copies of stuff, or I wanted to share my maps and stuff with friends, and I'd make 5 copies, and I'd be there, and there were people. You had a room of copiers and people standing there making copies of their book, self-publishing or whatever,
right? Manually
themselves, copy, and hot sheets coming off in stacks for their copies of stuff,
right? And spiral bound,
very physical in nature. Yeah. And then more and more, it's virtual. So
yeah, so nice
online. And
yeah, the print on demand was a big fucking development, man, because you get a nice glue bound, proper looking book. It's not quite as good as an actual print book, where you run it off a printing press, but close enough, especially for a vanity publisher such as myself. But you notice, where's the publisher on there? 21E15. Where is it? Here, do the little arrow over next to page flip. See if nope. Where's my publisher? See all details. Click on all details. Let's see all the details. Publisher, 21E15. Boom!
Cool. Yep. You're a publisher.
I'm a publisher. And I still got
about the author, D.L. White.
I didn't put my laser eyes picture on there. I didn't know if I should do laser eyes on my author profile or not.
People might see that and be like, I don't know what that means.
I think I was 20 pounds lighter when I took that picture. It's pretty fucking embarrassing, man. I got to get some of this fat off me. I do not like being a fat guy.
You just squeeze the picture you took. Take a picture and just go.
Squeeze. No, that's a legit picture of me 20 pounds ago.
Looks the same to me.
Yeah. Open it up. See if you can open it in a new tab or something like that. The image.
Yeah, it's maybe as big as.
Can you not right click on that thing?
Well, I could probably save it as an image.
No, open a new tab. Open image and no. Open image and new tab.
Link. Image.
Open image and new tab. There you go. Yeah, look at that. Compare to that face right here. Look, just go A to B. There's A, there's B.
Yeah.
I got this nice.
How old were you there? How long ago was that? 10 years ago?
No. 2016.
See, your gray is just starting there.
Right. And I'm not as fat. I'm 20 pounds fucking lighter. I think I look much better not being a fat fuck. I'm also standing there in my underwear.
Suit and tie, but you cannot see below his chest.
Yeah. A suit and tie and underwear. The beauty of digital photography.
Hey, Snapchat filter,
Yeah.
all good.
I could give myself some big boobs.
We could apply a filter to this whole podcast. We'd look amazing.
Yeah, get some little mouse ears. I don't know. But that was fun. What time is it? That's enough.
Hour and 14. That's plenty. Not a long one today, folks.
Yeah.
It takes
We should probably keep it around a fucking hour anyway.
Yeah. It takes me like, by the time we start this podcast, I'm not fully detoxed from my fiat week of salt mining.
Yeah, me neither.
And that's part of my 80% IQ is that being productive and functional in my job, I feel like I'm honing my brain into an 80% IQ for the sake of my mental health to do that job.
Right.
And then if I say I have a week off or if I have a good weekend and I can focus on my stuff and like say Bitcoin or my tech work or whatever it is, reading a book, my gosh. And I start to remember like, I'm smart. I'm learning stuff. I want to explore and be curious and like, oh my gosh, I get excited and my juices start flowing and suddenly I start feeling normal,
right,
smart again.
Right.
And then Monday rolls around and it's like, oh, okay, dumb myself down again so I can mine that salt.
Right.
And oof, it's hard to reconcile.
Yeah, it sucks.
So
I don't like it.
Don't like it. Bitcoin awesome.
Bitcoin good.
Fiat
bad.
Pays the bills.
Yeah.
Currently.
I'm breaking free this year. Period. I will live in a fucking cardboard box before I keep doing fiat slave salt mine shit anymore. I'm DUN done. But I also have some shit on the horizon. Book, probably not going to do it for me, but the invention, soon to be released, going to be epic. People are going to fucking buy the shit out of this thing. It's a great idea. I can't wait to use it myself because I want it. That's how great this thing is. It's going to be awesome. And it's this close. We're like this far away from having it perfected.
I was about to say things, but I don't want to give anything away.
It's going to be huge. Huge!
Yeah. It's awesome.
All right.
To be announced.
Yeah, TBA.
The Great Realignment, out.
Sort of.
The
also TBA.
Up and coming
2 days.
Innovation, to be announced.
A lot of TBA. Next week, all systems go. Well,
awesome.
Half the systems are go. We'll see if I can get the model machined out. I think it's going to take about 3 weeks to get it machined. But I want to take it with me to Swan Bitcoin. If they're still going to have me because I didn't fully take their side of the lawsuit. It's just allegations. That's all I'm saying.
There's allegations. We don't know things.
We don't know things.
I rally to Swan's defense. My God, those mutineers need to walk the plank.
Yeah.
I know what happened.
Kick them off into the ocean. I kind of have to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
All right, bye.
We'll wrap it up. Thanks, folks.